How would you feel if you lived in garbage and all the yucky, disgusting stuff that people throw away? Well, looking at the amount of people that don't recycle, you could be living in garbage very soon.
Recycling started way back in 500 BC.
Although recycling started such a long time ago, not many people do it, and some of them do it incorrectly. Now you may wonder, how do they do it incorrectly? Well, they do it incorrectly by putting the garbage items into the recycling bin and recyclable items into the garbage bin, because a lot of times people don't know which item is recyclable and which one is not. Now, some also do it incorrectly just to get it over with.
They don't care if the item is recyclable or not, they will just throw it into the bin. This graph shows that there were more people wasting than recycling between 1990 and 2006, but you can also see that the trends will continue, and we know that they are continuing.
Not recycling is very bad for our earth. You can cause a lot of harm to our earth if you don't recycle. Now, how many of you have heard this before? Probably a lot of you. Some of you might even think that it is not true, but it actually is true.
When you throw everything into the garbage, it goes into the landfill.
The landfill grows and grows as more stuff gets thrown into it. When there is no more space left in the landfill, they cover it up by putting grass, flowers, or other things over it.
This picture shows a covered up landfill.
According to Landfill Inventory Management Ontario, there are at least 2,400 landfills in Canada. Now, what happens to all that garbage in the landfill? It takes a lot of time for garbage to decompose. Some items take longer to decompose than others. Plastic items can take 1,000 years to decompose. Aluminum cans take 80 to 100 years. There are many more items which take a lot of time. Wool clothing takes the least time, 1 to 5 years, while tinfoil does not decompose at all.
When it rains, there's a lot of water. There are toxic liquids and gases which are then made from the garbage. These toxic liquids and gases spread around our earth, harming the environment. This diagram shows methane leaving the landfill. Landfills have pipes to collect some of the toxin, but those pipes could break.
So, it's better to recycle what you can instead, as all of the recycled material will not be making toxic liquids and gases. Instead of polluting the environment, you can turn your used stuff into new things. Recycling is important, but many people don't do it, or they do it incorrectly. Out of the choices of recycling and not recycling, recycling is the better choice to make for a couple of reasons. That's why fines for recycling should be taken into account. Not recycling is harmful for our environment. Not recycling isn't very effective, and not recycling can be easier, but recycling allows us to have a more sustainable future. Firstly, not recycling is very harmful for our environment. It pollutes the environment when you don't recycle. Now, how does it pollute the environment? Well, some factories, companies, or people dispose their waste improperly into rivers, lakes, landfills, etc.
This waste, which could possibly be recycled, is being disposed of improperly.
Also, toxic liquids and gases are formed in landfills when it rains. These toxins spread around the earth, causing pollution and bad air for animals and plants to breathe in. Recycling does not cause this pollution. A lot of people that are not recycling or are doing it incorrectly are causing this pollution. Not recycling also has negative effects on the economy. Now, how does it have negative effects on the economy? Well, the country needs to pay for the landfills. They have many landfills in the country, and they need to pay the people to dig the landfill. Then they also have to pay the people who cover up the landfills.
This graph shows that there's more waste than the population. At one point, there was more waste than the GDP, which means there could be less money for the economy.
Also, when we don't recycle, the country or the people in the country need to pay for the fresh or new materials which cost more than the recycled products. On the other hand, recycling has positive effects to the economy. When you recycle, there is no need to pay for landfills or to cover up the full landfill. Also, recycled products are cheaper to buy, which means we get to save money.
Also, not recycling causes depletion of resources. This graph shows that Argentina, USA, United Kingdom, Germany, Russia, and the Philippines have a depletion of resources.
When stuff is thrown into the garbage, it cannot be reused. We then have to use new materials which are most likely not reproducing. Therefore, using more and more of the same resources can cause them to deplete. But if people would recycle, these resources would not deplete. This shows us how important recycling can actually be. You can save a resource by recycling. Just think about it. We can just save so much on the earth by just recycling. Secondly, not recycling is not as effective as recycling. You're wasting stuff when you don't recycle. When you recycle, the items are getting reused and recycled and made into new stuff. But instead, you're just throwing it in the garbage and wasting it. This just tells us that many people don't think recycling is important and continue wasting stuff by throwing stuff into the garbage.
That stuff going into the garbage could have been made into new stuff and not wasted.
Also, when you do not recycle, you're wasting land. When you throw stuff into the garbage collectors take it to the landfill. Once the landfill is full, they cover it with grass and create a new landfill. With all these landfill, it's wasting so much land. On the contrary, recycling causes us to have lower garbage and a lower amount of landfills, which equals to more space for other things. Finally, although not recycling is easier, recycling allows us to have a more sustainable future. There will be a cleaner earth when recycling. When you recycle, you have a better water quality, better food quality, better air, and a cleaner earth in general.
This is easier to live in as you won't have to walk or live in garbage and pollution.
Also, when you recycle, fewer resources are depleting or are not depleting at all. When you're recycling, you're reusing those resources instead of using fresh, new resources. This saves us a lot of these resources. It is reported that humans are using 30% more resources than sustainable, and there will be 2 planets needed by 2030 at this rate. A major reason of this is not recycling. When you recycle, there is more space for other things. Everything you throw away ends up in landfills.
If you minimize your waste and recycle, there will be less landfill taking up the land and you can use that land to make buildings or to plant stuff.
Now, what can we do to make everyone start recycling? Fines for not recycling should be brought into effect. In fact, it has already took place in some places. Terry Van Zolswyk, a city bylaw officer, spends his time trying to teach people how to recycle. On garbage collecting days, he spends his time looking at people's garbage bins. In Toronto, the fines are $125 for putting recyclables in the garbage and $360 for illegal dumping. In 2006, there were over 3,000 charges. Terry Van Zolswyk promises if people choose to put their garbage out illegally and they just keep doing it, eventually I'm going to get to them. Also, there are many organizations for recycling.
Some are Cleaner Earth Recycling and Keep Earth Beautiful. They have websites and everyone should check them out.
In conclusion, recycling is something important which many people don't do or do it incorrectly. Recycling is the better choice than not doing so for a couple of reasons. That is why fines for not recycling is the solution. Not recycling is harmful for our environment. It is not very effective and it can be easier, but recycling allows us to have a better future. Recycling is something good. If you don't recycle, it is very harmful for our environment and country, as not recycling pollutes the environment, has a negative effect on the economy, and causes depletion of resources. Also, if you don't recycle, it is not as effective as recycling, since when you don't recycle, you're wasting stuff and land, but when you recycle, you're not wasting land. When you recycle, you're reusing stuff to make new stuff and you're not wasting. Finally, although not recycling is easier, recycling allows us to have a more sustainable future as you have a cleaner earth and there's more land space for other things and there is not any depletion of resources. Neil Labute once said, "We live in a disposable society. It's easier to throw things out than to fix them. We've even given it a name. We call it recycling." I hope you all take this into mind and start recycling. Thank you for listening.